Last year was a what could have been type of season for Cincinnati. The Bearcats went 3-9 in 2023, and we thought they could bounce back in 2024, maybe make a bowl game, and they should have. The Bearcats went 5-7, but they had 4 one-possession losses. It could have been a 9-win season for the Bearcats. Instead, they missed out on the postseason entirely. They had a 21-point second-half blown lead to Pittsburgh, lost that game 28-27. They lost to Texas Tech by 3. They lost to West Virginia by 7, a game where they allowed the Mountaineers to post not 1, but 2 defensive touchdowns. And then in the season finale, with the bowl berth on the line, they lost at home to TCU by 7. The Bearcats were 5-2 at one point, lost their final 5 games. What could have been? Now, heading into 2025, this team has a lot of talent. They better make a bowl game. Otherwise, Scott Satterfield is gone. This is a make-or-break year for him. Should have been there last year. Give him a little grace. This has to be the year they break through. Take a look at the offense. I really like it for the Bearcats. 7 starters are back. They averaged over 420 yards per game, 184 on the ground, 237 through the air. And veteran quarterback Brendan Sorsby returns after throwing for over 2,800 yards, 18 touchdowns, and just 7 interceptions. And also rushing for nearly 450 yards and 9 touchdowns. So a lot of talent there. I think Sorsby, we can see him take a bigger jump from last year to this year and really improve, his decision-making, his accuracy, everything can improve for Sorsby. They do lose their star running back, Corey Kiner, rushed for over 1,100 yards last year, but they add Tawee Walker in from Wisconsin, had over 800 yards with the Badgers last year. They do return Evan Pryor, who rushed for over 400 yards and 8 touchdowns with the Bearcats last year. The wide receiver position is probably the biggest question mark. They do lose 4 of their top 5 pass catchers from last year, but they went into the transfer portal pretty hard, right? Add a guy like Cyrus Allen in from Texas A&M, a guy like Jeff Caldwell, who had over 1,000 yards and was a first-team Big South selection last year at Lindenwood, and then Caleb Goody, who had over 400 yards last year with Colorado State. So some talent at the wide receiver position, just transfers, and curious to see how quickly they can gel and build chemistry with Sorsby. And then 3 starters are also back on the offensive line. So this Cincinnati offense should be okay. I could see them matching last year's statistics, maybe even beating it just by a little bit. The defense has 8 starters back after giving up 24.6 points per game, 385 yards per game on the year. The biggest question mark for me is, can they fix their rushing defense, right? They gave up 163 rushing yards per game. They've got to improve up front. They've got to improve in that front 7. 3 of their top 4 tacklers do return from last year, and a good amount of them do show up in the front 7, right? The defensive line is anchored by the Godfather, Deontay Corleone, up at nose tackle, 3.5 sacks last year, and happy to see him fully healthy. I know he played most of last year, but coming into the season, he was dealing with that blood clot issue. Was able to overcome that, had a decent season, should have an even bigger season now in 2025. The linebackers appear to be the strength of the defense, in my opinion. The second leading tackler on the team last year, and Jake Golday does return, their 4th leading tackler from last year. Jonathan Thompson is back, their 7th leading tackler, and Jaquan Sanks is back, and their 8th leading tackler, and Jack Dingle is back. All of those guys in the linebacking core and the secondary, adding 3 decent transfers in. Guys like Matthew McDoom, 3 interceptions last year with Coastal Carolina. You have Taden Barnes coming in from New Mexico State. Xavier Williams with a 3rd-team Conference USA selection at Middle Tennessee. All those guys now in for Cincinnati's secondary. So you got your big guy up front on the defensive line. You got a really deep linebacking core and a secondary that brings in some experience through the transfer portal. But like that pass-catching core, how quickly can they build chemistry and how quickly can they all come together? That's going to be the million-dollar question for teams across the country this year. You dip into the transfer portal that hard, you use it that much, you're taking a risk. Saw Florida State struggle with it. We saw Indiana thrive with it. What's going to be the case for Cincinnati? You take a look at their schedule. We're going to learn a lot about the Bearcats in week 1 when they open up on a Thursday night in Kansas City against Nebraska. What a great game. What a great game and a great, just appetizer for the great weekend that we're going to have ahead. This Nebraska team is really good, though. And I'm actually going to pick the Cornhuskers to win this game, but this game is going to be closer than people think and a lot more competitive than people think. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see Cincinnati win this, but I do think Nebraska's got just a little bit more of an edge in just about every aspect here. 10 starters are back for the Cornhuskers. Dylan Raiola is back at quarterback. They've got a decent run game that could exploit the Cincinnati defense that, again, allowed 163 rushing yards per game. And Nebraska's strength, I would say defensively, 5 starters are back, is going to be their secondary. They've got a really good secondary, which, again, makes me wonder, can Brendan Sorsby deliver against them? if he gets shut down, can the Cincinnati run game without Corey Kiner, can they deliver and win this game solely on the ground? I'm going to say no. I think it's a game where I don't think either team exceeds 28 points. I think both teams are held to 28 or less, but Nebraska ends up pulling off the win in Kansas City. Cincinnati 0-1, but will be 2-1 when they head into their bye week. They'll beat Bowling Green. They'll beat Northwestern State. So 2-1 heading into the bulk of Big 12 conference play. This is where it gets interesting. Because you look at those games they've got to go up against, right? They draw a lot of top teams in the conference. Iowa State, Baylor, on the road at Utah, on the road at TCU. Some really difficult Big 12 games in there, but then maybe some favorable ones like UCF and Oklahoma State, maybe even Arizona. So it's just a matter of, can they win the games they're supposed to win? Can they hold on to the leads? Can they deliver late? Can they win the close games? And then could they maybe snag an upset or two? You look at it, I think they lose the opener, unfortunately, on the road to Kansas. I think this game's going to be close, but I lean towards the Jayhawks. They're going to be playing in their brand new stadium, have a veteran quarterback returning in Jalen Daniels, looking to bounce back after a disappointing 2024 campaign. Daniel Highshaw is back at running back. He got overshadowed by Devin Neal, but he's a dang good running back. And the Jayhawks, as a whole defensively, have a decent front seven. The secondary is $1 million question, which concerns me, but maybe not so much this early in the year with still a new pass-catching core for Cincinnati. The front seven, I think, can do their job just enough to get this win. Home field advantage, the ultimate tipping point for me. Cincinnati drops that game. They're 2-2, and I think they're 2-3 when they lose at home to Iowa State, who is just, again, one of the best teams in the Big 12 this year. Iowa State beat the Bearcats by 17 points last year. Cincinnati allowed 152 rushing yards to the Cyclones. Now, Iowa State returns their top two rushers. They return their veteran quarterback in Rocco Becht, and their defense was banged up a lot last year. Not going to be the case this year, at least we hope not. A lot of experience returning on that side of the ball. The Cyclones are a true Big 12 title contender, true playoff contender. They should have enough to come beat Cincinnati on the road. They're 2-3. The sirens, the alarms are all going off. People are freaking out about Cincinnati right now, looking like it could be another disappointing season. I say pump the brakes, slow down. Look at who they get next. Two of the worst teams in the conference. They're going to win both. So from 2-3 to 4-3, just like that, they should cruise past UCF, who's breaking in over 60 new players in the return of Scott Frost. If UCF could go on the road, Cincinnati could go on the road and beat UCF last year 19-13, I have no doubt in my mind that a Cincinnati team that should be better than they were last year, now at home, can beat this UCF team now. So Cincinnati gets the win over the Knights, 3-3, and then I do think they have enough to go on the road and beat Oklahoma State. I know it's Mike Gundy. I know it's in Stillwater. I get that. But I look at this game, and I think Cincinnati owns the edge everywhere with the exception of home field advantage. Oklahoma State, way too many questions, way too much inexperience, which was not the case last year, and they still went 3-9. Cincinnati should be able to take advantage of that and win it. If they don't, we got bigger issues. 4-3 for the Bearcats heading in to the home stretch with 5 straight games. 4-3. Need 2 to go bowling. I'm telling you right now, they're not going to get them against Baylor or Utah. They're going to lose both. So they play 2 of the better teams in this conference in back-to-back. Kind of interesting how that works out, right? In the span of October 4th to November 1st, they play, 3 of the top teams within the conference? Iowa State, Baylor, and Utah. Not a good stretch at all. A very difficult stretch. Baylor is simply too good. Maybe they catch Baylor sleeping a little bit because they're going to be coming off a tough game on the road at TCU. An emotional high if they get the win. A big hangover if they get the loss to their rival. But I do think Dave Aranda has this team focused. This is a team that could be in the Big 12 title hunt by season's end. That's how good they are. They've got a really, really good running game. 2 great running backs that I think can exploit the Cincinnati defense that, again, should improve against the run, but the question is by how much. Even if they shut that down, they return their top 2 pass catchers, plus Sawyer Robertson, one of the best quarterbacks, not just in the Big 12, but in the country. Baylor should get this win on the road. Cincinnati is 4-4, and then I don't give them much of a shot on the road at Utah. I mean, a team that is dang near unstoppable at home, very, very good at home under Kyle Whittingham, now has a mobile quarterback in Devin Dampier from New Mexico. They've got a really good defense and a ridiculously good offensive line. Just don't give them much of a shot in Salt Lake City, and I would say that for about every team that Utah plays at home this year. So Cincinnati, 4-3, drops to 4-5. They head into their bye week. They've got to win 2 of their final 3 games if they want to go bowling. And again, anything less than that is a massive disappointment. And some would say even 6-6 could be viewed as a disappointment. I would not think so, considering the struggles they've had these last 2 years. But regardless, can they get there? Yes, they can. They will win their next 2. At home against Arizona, at home against BYU, 2 teams that I'm not particularly high on, so some favorable matchups there. The week of rest against Arizona, is huge because the Wildcats gave up 174 rushing yards per game last year. So if Cincinnati can get the ground game going, I wish Kiner was still there, but even if he's not, or clearly he's not, even though he's not, I think we'll be able to exploit that. And I just think, again, kind of similar to some of these matches we've talked about, I think Cincinnati owns the edge in every aspect of this game. I like their offense a lot more than Arizona's because I'm curious to see if Noah Fifita can bounce back. And if he can he do it without Tataroa McMillan? Arizona's defense was atrocious last year. A lot of experience coming back, but how much does it improve by? With the week of rest, Cincinnati gets the win, and I think they beat BYU, who we don't know a whole lot about. I mean, losing Jake Retzlaff is a big loss. I know he wasn't phenomenal last year, but to lose him this late, right before the season, you wonder how the quarterback position is going to look for the Cougars. Can they play and win through LJ Martin at running back? Can the defense do their job for a full 60 minutes if the offense continues to struggle? I'm just not entirely sure. At home on senior day with their backs against the wall, Scott Satterfield makes sure his team gets the win. They beat BYU. They're 6-5, and they needed to get that win because I don't like their odds on the road against TCU. Last year, it was a win-or-go-home situation for Cincinnati at home. Back when we did our predictions last year for Cincinnati, which were live from Cincinnati at the stadium, I predicted the Bearcats to get the win at home. Similar spot, win or go home, can they go bowling? I said yes. Instead, Cincinnati fell short, losing 20-13. Their defense did their job. They held that great TCU passing attack to just 212 passing yards. The offense just couldn't generate anything. Now they have to go on the road. TCU going to be even better offensively with Josh Hoover. They return 8 starters on defense. Everything, the stars are aligning for a really good year for TCU. No one's talking enough about the Horned Frogs who won 9 games last year. Now you got to go on the road to face them. Just don't see it happening. Since Cincinnati goes 6-6 in 2025, good enough to go bowling, but is it good enough for the fan base? 3-9 2 years ago. 5-7 last year, in a year where they really should have won more than 5 games. This year, we had them kind of going, just mediocre 6-6. And maybe you think they can beat Nebraska. Maybe you think they can beat Kansas. Maybe you think they can beat TCU. I mean, honestly, I'm looking at the schedule, guys. I really think the only games I'd contemplate, and contemplate is a key word, flipping would be Nebraska and Kansas. So I think 8-4, probably the ceiling for Cincinnati. We've got them at 6-6, not that much far off. To me, though, this is a bowl team. This is the best team that Scott Satterfield has fielded at Cincinnati. I think he's able to get the job done this year. Goes to a bowl game, has a shot for a winning season, but once again, is that good enough for the fan base? That is the million-dollar question. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to our expert picks, some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. Do not miss out on those. Definitely want to take advantage of it before the season starts, as well as our weekly newsletters, also over on thegridironexpert.com. Take advantage of those, become a member of our GE Nation. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on The Gridiron Expert.